Hi guys, and welcome to another Kitchen Draft Live. I thought that I'm not going to make it today. Again, audio problems. That's fine. We are here now. So in today's video, we're going to be making sea bass with butternut squash risotto. Something simple, something a bit more wintry. Risotto works well with this weather. Now it's getting colder. It just works perfectly. Now I've got here some veg stock. I've got the squash, which is half here. I'm going to show you how to prepare it. But the thing is with the squash, because of the time that it's taking to get into the oven, roast it, I already roast some, but I'm going to show you how to prepare it in case you need to get into the oven yourself, because it takes about like 45 minutes. So I don't want to really waste your time in this situation. So what we're going to do, I'm going to show you how to prepare it, but we're not going to do anything with it now. I'm just going to show you the result as you get in out of the oven. So let me show you what I've got here. So as I mentioned, here is the veg stock. I'm going to take it away for a moment because I don't actually need it right now. And now we're going to take care of the squash. With the squash, all you have to do, well, there are many options and there are many possibilities the way you can prepare it, but I'm going to get all the seeds out, which by the way, you can use them. You can get them in the oven after that and or use them as a garnish if you want to. But first, I'm going to scoop all these like soft squash out, get it out of the way, remove it. As mentioned, if you want to pick the seeds, you get them into the oven with a bit of sea salt. They're absolutely perfect. But we're not going to do that now. I'm not going to use these as a garnish, although you can. All we care about now is the squash. So with the squash, let me get the chef's knife. And then you can roast it whole if you want to, but it's going to take longer. So that's why I'm trying to cut it into bigger chunks. I mean, into chunks, but smaller than the actual squash sizes. The bottom part, I'm just going to remove it because it's kind of tough. And then this one again in 3 or 4. It all depends how big the squash is. Now I'm going to put some baking paper here just because the squash is kind of sweet. And then once you bake it, it releases some of that sweet juice that's kind of hard to scrape off the tray. So make sure you get some baking tray in there if you don't want to do a lot of washing after that. So let's get the baking paper first. I mean, I should have done that earlier, but so baking paper goes on. And then all I'm doing, I'm adding some veg oil. Just make sure it's well covered in veg oil so it gets like, well, that's going to ensure that it gets properly roasted. A few sprigs of rosemary to give it some flavor. The squash itself doesn't have that much flavor, at least doesn't have the flavor that I want. So when you're using herbs like rosemary or even thyme, I've got here some thyme as well. So a few sprigs of thyme, just sprinkle them over, break them apart, and just add them on top of the squash. And then after that, 2 cloves of garlic. All I'm doing with the garlic is just crush it. So all you do is crush it, get it in a tray. This will release some of that garlic juice, and it will give just enough flavor to the squash. It doesn't overpower it, it's just enough. Now, a bit of salt, a bit of pepper. Not a lot, because you can season it after that, but obviously it's important to add some seasoning in there, because otherwise it's important, like with cooking in general, in my opinion, to add seasoning right from the beginning in most situations. There are situations when you don't want to, but in most situations you want to add the seasoning right from the beginning. And then after that, we're going to get him into the oven. I would say at 180 degrees for about 45 minutes to an hour. It all depends. You need to check it. I'm going to show you how the other one looks like. So you're going to have an understanding like when it's kind of ready. But it needs to be roasted on the outside. You need to see a nice golden brown color. And then it needs to be soft because you're going to make a puree out of this. Not like a very smooth puree, but you still want to get in a nice consistency, if that makes sense. So I'm going to show you how the squash that I prepared earlier, that I got into the oven earlier, looks like. So this is the one that I got in earlier. Let me show you the other view. So it's nice and nicely roasted. As you can see, all you have to do in this situation, let me get a paring knife, and then all you have to do is just remove the outside layer, because this is kind of tough. You don't want it into your puree, and that's the end result. And this is going to go in the blender, and then with a bit of veg stock, we're going to make a nice puree, which is going to be added to the risotto. But that's going to be a bit later on. So let's just scrape off all this squash, removing the skin, and then we're just going to end up with the soft part of the squash. If that may even make sense, but you know what I mean. This is kind of hot, to be honest. I probably should use a spoon. That's probably going to be better than a knife. Okay. I'm actually going to get it straight into the jug, because it's going to get pureed eventually. It's no point putting it into a bowl, and then after that, from the bowl to the blending jug. It doesn't make any sense. It's just more washing, and I don't really like washing up. Okay. You might want to use, I mean, in this situation, you need it warm. It's kind of important to have it warm, just because, not extremely hot, but at least like on the warmer side, because the puree will just blend easier and better, if that makes sense. I mean, not that you cannot make it when it's cold, but it just works better. Hi, Chris. Yeah, man, I'm making a really nice risotto today. So if you're staying with me, you're gonna see what I'm talking about. So butternut squash risotto. I'm not even sure if I put there is I thought that the text is not changed, but it is. So it's gonna be butternut squash risotto with local Jersey bass. I've got some beautiful nice fillets of Jersey bass, which I'm gonna be using for this recipe. But for now, we're getting the squash in. And by the way, you could use pumpkin, although pumpkin, to be honest, doesn't have that much flavor. It's kind of even like, squash doesn't have much, but it's sweeter and it tastes better, in my opinion. Pumpkin is kind of fade, so you better mix it. What I usually do with pumpkin, I either mix it with some oranges, a bit of orange juice, or with a bit of sweet potato. It just gives you a better flavor, because it doesn't have much flavor on it. It doesn't have much flavor on its own, in my opinion, at least. Hello. Oh, we've got Fabian here. Hi guys. Oh, we've got a few people actually here. So just in case you're late into the stream, we are making risotto with butternut squash, and we're gonna add some, well, it's not that we're gonna add, that's gonna be like the main thing on top of the risotto, which is gonna be the local sea bass. So Jersey sea bass, nice fillets of sea bass. So let me show you what I've got here. So it's not much, but it's just perfect for what I need for about 2-3 portions of risotto. So yeah, that's what we end up with. All these can go to the bin now. We don't need any of this. So that's fine, that's done its job. Now let's leave this here on the side, because I'm not gonna blend it just yet. Although it's not gonna take long till, okay, just stay there. So what I'm gonna do at this point, I just wanna start the risotto first. We're gonna start the risotto, and after that we have time for blending, we have time for everything. And I just wanna, yeah, speed up the thing. So the more you organize, the more you organize the jobs that take longer, or the faster you start them, the better you're gonna, and the faster you're gonna end up eating, if that even makes sense. Okay, only half onion. You can use shallots in this situation. I don't have any shallots, and most people probably at home, they don't have shallots. The shallots are slightly milder, and that's why probably people use them, and especially in restaurants, they are slightly milder than the onion, and that's why chefs use them. But I think onion will do. Once it's cooked, once it's boiled with the risotto, you're not going to feel much difference. So with the onion, only half, because I'm making like 3 portions of risotto or so. So half will do the job. So we're just gonna, so what we need with the onion is to chop it as fine as possible. I mean, it doesn't need to be extremely fine. I'm not going for that kind of fine, but try to go as fine as possible. Obviously, a sharp knife, it's definitely helpful in this situation. Okay, so that's the onion right there. We've got the onion. Let me get the wok. I cook most of my stuff in the wok. I'm not sure if you guys follow me or how much you follow me, but the wok is literally my go-to pan for most of the things that I cook in this kitchen, because it can be used for shallow frying, deep frying, risotto, stews. Yeah, it works for so many situations, and I absolutely love it. Okay, so let's go with medium heat. Now, a touch of, we can use veg oil, you can use extra virgin olive oil, you can use a combination of both. Let's do a combination of both, actually. To be honest, extra virgin olive oil on its own is kind of strong. I mean, it all depends if you like it or not. I like it, and it's not ideal for frying, although people use it, and I use it in some situations when I make risotto or even when I fry something, because I like its flavor. But if you're going for something neutral and you don't really like that, it's a bit bitter, let's be honest. I mean, if you don't like the flavor, I'm not blaming you, but it's healthy, but it's healthy when it's cold. It's healthier when it's cold, at least, when it's cold pressed. Where did I get the sea bass? So the sea bass, I got it from a local fisherman. I'll show you in a minute, actually, what I'm talking about. I spent like 2 hours probably cleaning fish. So that wasn't that much fun, but when you see what we end up with, so these are just the fillets, because I didn't want to waste any time with you guys here and yeah, keeping you waiting till I'm prepping the fish. That would have taken a lot of time. So these are two beautiful size fillets of sea bass. So we're just gonna score them in a minute. We might cut them in half. They look better as presentation, one on top of another, but we'll see. That's not that important as long as you cook it properly. I'm just gonna get this back into the fridge for now. So we started the risotto. I'm gonna add also 1 clove of garlic. So 1 clove of minced garlic. You can go for more if you want to. If you absolutely love garlic, that's probably something that you could. But 1 clove for what I'm doing here is definitely enough. So you can mince it, but to be honest, chopping it as fine as you can will do the job. Or you can add a bit of salt on it. If you add a bit of table salt, or of rock salt, actually, is even better. You can scrape it against the board and just get it like really fine into a paste. Let's reduce this to lower heat. I just got this new induction and it's absolutely crazy fast. It's burning everything. Okay. Garlic goes in, and then we're gonna cook the onion and the garlic until the onion becomes translucent. You're probably not gonna see exactly in this video because you need to be like really close to see when the onion becomes translucent, but that's probably gonna take another 2 minutes or 3 minutes, something like that. Now, when you're working with risotto, I would say that's really important. You don't wanna break the grains. So you don't wanna break the grains, you don't wanna use something, plus you don't wanna break your pan, let's be honest, especially if you're using non-stick pans. But you want to use something like a wooden spoon, you want to use a silicone spoon or something like that, silicone spatula, or something that's not, it's not going to affect the grains of the risotto that much. Actually, as a matter of fact, I didn't even check if I have risotto. That would be really funny if I don't, but let's have a look. I usually do, and in most situations, I do, of course I do. Let's go. I've got risotto for all the people on stream. I've got 7 people live. I definitely have enough for 7 people, even more than that. Okay, so another 2 minutes or so. Now we're gonna blend this till it's not going cold, because I feel like the texture is getting better if it's in this situation, if when it's warm. Not that you cannot wait till it's cold, because the stock that I'm using, I'm gonna add a bit of stock, is gonna be warm or hot anyway. So that's kind of compensating in a way. Right. We're gonna leave this going, so nothing to worry about. And I'm gonna we're getting crowded here now. So I'm just gonna get the squash puree blended, and all I need is probably, I don't know, 1 ladle. This is kind of a small ladle, to be honest. It's just enough liquid so the blade catches the squash, and that's all it is. Because I want it quite thick. I don't want to make a light puree, because all I can add it after to the risotto the way it is. And if I need to compensate with more liquid, I can add stock. So that's fine. And if I don't need it all, I can put it on the side or even freeze it. And next time when I make a risotto again, it's there for us. Okay, so let's go. Not enough. Just let's get a bit more liquid. I'm gonna turn off the onion for now, just because it kind of is getting there, and I don't want to do multiple things in the same time, so you're kind of losing track of what I'm doing here. So let's just focus on this for a moment, and let's just blend this. Okay, let me get the spoon and just kind of arrange it, because it's definitely not enough. It's not enough squash. So that's one of the problems that you have at this point, because I use just like half squash. If it was like a whole squash, the blade would be able to catch the actual squash, and then just kind of like catching into that motion. But that's fine. We're adding a bit more puree, and that should be doing the job. In case it gets a bit too thin, that's fine as well, because I'm just not gonna add that much stock. So you can compensate either from the puree, or you can compensate with the puree, or you can compensate with the stock whenever you need to get the right consistency, if that makes sense. But that's gonna be towards the end, so nothing to worry about. Just kind of pulse it so it has the... Let's put the top down view. Okay, as I said, I don't want a very smooth puree anyway. I mean, if I get it, I get it. I could add like another 2 ladles of stock, and I will definitely get like proper puree, but I don't really care that much, because once it's cooked with all the onions and risotto, it'll be fine. You're not going to even notice it. It's not soup. It's not like, it doesn't need to be a smooth puree that you would put on the plate as presentation. So that's fine. It's doing the job. You can even, if let's say you don't have a blender, in situations where they say, oh, right, but I don't have a blender, what do I do now? Well, if you don't have a blender, don't even panic, because that's fine. You can use a fork and just kind of like break it apart, or just kind of squash it with a fork, and you can use it the way it is, and the way you end up with after that. So that's fine. Okay, now that we've got that, we're gonna get back here, and I'm gonna heat up the stock slightly as well, because the reason why it's important to have the stock hot is because if you add it cold, nothing really major will happen, but it's going to slow down the process. So let's say you're adding the risotto, which a portion is about 60 grams or so. It's actually going to say here, 75 grams. But then because we have the sea bass as well, I would say 60, 65 is just fine. I mean, it all depends how hungry you are, right? It's always a variable. So let's open the bag, and then I'm just going to go straight in with about, I don't know, 180 grams, 190 grams, 200. You know me, I don't really measure stuff. I'm kind of freestyle. Okay, this will probably go like 3-4 times bigger once he absorbs all that stock. all that puree. So that's definitely enough for what I need in this situation. But you know how much you want to make or how much you need. So, okay, so we have a question here. Where can I get kitchen draft merch? Well, you can get kitchen draft merch if you go on YouTube or even on my page. If you go on YouTube under comments, if you go on Teespring, where I have my online store, and you'll see there I've got like 3 different versions or 4 different versions of mugs. So yeah, just choose what you like. And by choosing that and by buying it, you're kind of helping the channel as well. A small percentage of that will be attributed to this channel, and is helping me making more videos like this. So yeah, you can definitely find merch on if you go on my YouTube channel and just go in the comment section and just search for my Kitchen Draft online store, and then there's more in there than that. But then if you want mugs, they're definitely there. Okay, so with the risotto now slowly cooking. So now, as I mentioned with the onion, so we needed to cook the onion, if you remember, till it becomes translucent. Now, pretty much the same thing will happen with the risotto, because it's kind of weird. I'm not sure if you've seen or if you ever pay attention, but when the risotto is cooking, it's kind of becoming translucent as well and kind of transparent in a way. So that's why you're looking for, at least at the edges, you'll see it changing its color. So that's when you know that it's cooked enough. You don't want to go too high with the heat because you don't want to give it color. You just want to keep it like as white as possible, if that makes sense. But if you pay attention to the grains, you'll see them becoming translucent at the edges, because it's not going to be like the whole grain. But if you pay attention to the grain, you'll find out that it gets translucent at the edges, and that's when you know, okay, that's probably enough cooking. Keep it on low heat, medium low heat, and then just make sure you're mixing from time to time. Now this is kind of getting to the right temperature. We're going to bring it to simmer, and then after that, we're going to add a bit of white wine. Yeah, get a good quality white wine. I'm not saying to break the bank when it comes to white wine, but you can definitely go for something that's at least decent. You know, I'm not talking like if let's say you are in Jersey, the UK, don't go for something that's a 3 or 4 pounds bottle. That's not going to do the job. I mean, it's doing the job, but in the same time, what if you want to enjoy a glass of wine? I want to enjoy a glass of wine right now. So will you actually drink a 3 pounds wine? I don't think so. Well, I wouldn't. So if let's say you get something that's a bit more, I'm not saying expensive, but at least value for money, then you can enjoy it as well. Okay, so I'm going to be adding probably, when it comes to wine, don't worry, because I have so many people that are kind of worried when it comes to wine, that they're kind of thinking, you know, oh, I'm adding alcohol. Well, which is true, because obviously wine has alcohol. That's fair enough. But then adding the wine to the risotto whilst cooking, and the heat is kind of evaporating all that alcohol. So you need to cook that wine, which is kind of a weird way of putting it, but that's what it is. You need to cook the wine until the alcohol evaporates. And all you end up with after that is the aroma of the wine. And you might think, oh, this is probably not going to make a huge difference. But trust me, this is really making a difference, and you're going to feel it. Because you're going to end up with something kind of sweet, but not sweet, because I don't even know how to describe it. But you're going to feel the wine aroma, but you're not going to have any of that alcohol. It's like drinking wine without alcohol, if that makes sense. But then obviously, because we're adding just like 100 mils or so, the whole point is not to overpower the whole dish. So you're not going to feel wine like, okay, this is a wine risotto, because that would be stupid. So just don't add too much. Okay, for those of you that got late into the stream, today we are making butternut squash risotto with Jersey sea bass. We've got some really nice sea bass here. I'm going to show it to you in a minute again, because we're going to start cooking. Well, we're going to start cooking the sea bass, not that we're not starting cooking already. So, because we are actually in the middle of it. And then once we get the risotto translucent, we're gonna gradually add the stock, which the stock is kind of at the simmering temperature at this point. So what we want to do is gradually add the stock. You don't want to go with the whole thing in, because you want to gradually add the stock so you can control and stop at the right moment when the risotto is ready, when it's al dente. Again, probably another mistake that people make when making risotto is that they are actually cooking it too much. So you need to kind of stop when it gets al dente, and bear in mind that once it's done, it will continue cooking. So if, let's say, if you don't serve it straight away, even if you service it till to the point that it gets in the plate, till the point it gets to the table, or maybe you take time with your food and it's continuing cooking. And that's probably the same, well, not probably, it's exactly the same story with whatever the vegetables you're cooking, pasta. That's a situation where probably most people don't think about, especially when cooking at home. You cannot really stop at the point where we're like, okay, now it's fully cooked, because you need to know that you need to stop kind of in advance. Same happens with the meat. Let's say you're cooking a steak, you want it medium rare, you want to take it when it's close to medium rare, and you let it rest. So then during that time, it's cooking and it's releasing those juices, and it's tenderizing in a way. Okay, we end up in a totally different situation talking about steaks, but this is almost there. So we're gonna slowly adding in a minute, because I just want to make sure that this is again a part that's important, because when you're frying, basically you're frying the risotto now, you're gonna enhance that flavor, you're gonna get it better. I'm not saying that you cannot go straight away with the stock, with the wine, with whatever you've got, but by doing this, you're gonna get a lot better flavor. It's kind of getting a nutty flavor in a way. And I think that's what's making the difference, you know, when, let's say, you're making it at home and you don't really pay attention and you're going straight in with everything. You don't sweat your onion properly. You don't sweat your garlic, onion, whatever you're using. You don't cook the risotto, and then you'll be like, oh, it doesn't taste like in the restaurant. That's the main reason why, because you don't follow the steps gradually. Okay, so the risotto kind of looks fine. In my opinion, it's all good to go. So we're gonna add wine. As I said, you're not gonna add liters of wine. All you need is probably about 100 mils of wine. Now we're gonna cook this wine until the alcohol evaporates, and you can already feel it. You know, you feel that all that wine kind of like aroma now in the air. And I'm gonna leave it on low heat because I just don't wanna. It will get absorbed by the risotto, but in the same time, the alcohol will evaporate. So that's what we need in this situation. Do you guys have any questions? By the way, if you have any questions, let me know. I mean, I'm happy to answer. Let's have a glass of wine. I mean, if you have the option of getting a glass of wine, go for it. Cheers to you. This is actually quite a good wine. Not bad. Right, this will probably take another minute or two because I want to make sure that none of that alcohol is still in there. Not that I really care that much whether it's alcohol or not, but for the flavor, it really matters. Because I want to make sure that it gets fully absorbed, all that wine gets fully absorbed into the risotto before I'm adding the stock. Otherwise, it's kind of like, you need to go gradually. That's the main thing, and you need to take your time with the risotto. You can't just like get them all in a pan and be like, hope for the best, and it'll be like, okay, I'm gonna get a good risotto, because it's not gonna happen. You just need to go gradually and make sure you have the time for it, and I can guarantee you're gonna get a really nice risotto if you have the time, and if you go gradually with all the steps that we've done tonight. And this is gonna help in most situations. Because if let's say at this point you want to turn this risotto into something else, you can definitely do that. Till to the point that we're adding the puree, this is just the risotto base. So after that, you can go with whatever flavor you want. You can go with mushrooms, because till to this point, that's all you need to know. If you want to know how to make risotto, that's what you need to know, because just going gradually with all the steps that I mentioned, we're going to have a risotto base. And from the risotto base, you can go so many flavors. So let's say you're making for a party. You're making like you have a dinner party. You have people, oh, I don't really like mushroom risotto. That's fine. You do the base exactly the same. You do the base for everybody the same, even if you have vegetarians, even if you have, obviously, if you're using chicken stock, that's a different story, but this is a vegetable stock, so you can get away with it. So you can make the base for everybody the same, but then when it comes to that person or those person that, let's say, don't like mushrooms, don't like peas, don't like that, don't like this, you can just take a portion or two and just change the flavor and just get something not totally different, but definitely different. Okay, I'm happy where I am with this now. So let's just gradually add. First, we're going with 2 ladles. These are kind of small, so. And if you're wondering what I got in a stock, stocks are like literally the most freestyle things that you can ever do. There are a few basic things that you kind of need to follow, but in most situations, you can add whatever you like. Or whatever you got in the fridge. Like, for example, in this stock that I've got here, I've got onion, I've got carrot, I've got star anise, I have some peppercorns. So ideally, you probably want celery, you want, I don't know, fennel, you want other things, but then if you don't have them, that's definitely still a stock that's decent and it will give you a nice flavor to your dish. And with veg stock, because this is a veg stock, probably the rule that you need to follow, and I would say that's probably the rule I kind of follow, is that you don't want to overcook it. Although it sounds kind of crazy because you're only using the soup, because in this situation you're only using the soup. You don't really use anything else. You don't use the vegetables because these are kind of like cooked to death. By the time you put the stock here, these are like fully cooked like to death. So we don't need any of those vegetables. Although you can eat them, but then once you cook them for an hour, there's no flavor in there. They're all mushy. It gets weird. So what I would say is that what you need to make sure is that you don't overcook it. So let's say for vegetable stock, give it maximum an hour. Let's say you're making chicken stock, that's a different story because that will take more to absorb all that flavor from the bones. If you're doing beef stock, that's going to take even longer. That's probably going to take like a whole day. And if you want to reduce it to a jus, that's totally, we're getting into something kind of complicated. Not complicated, but not something that you probably do at home. But with the stock, if you don't have, you can definitely cheat with the stock cube. I'm not saying that, it's not that I've not done it, let's be honest. But ideally, you want to make this from scratch because it's so easy. And you can do it with the vegetables that we've got here. And yeah, by the way, I've got like 1 or 2 cloves of garlic as well in there. Now, what I could have done as well for this risotto, because I had like a whole fish. So I bought the fish whole and I de-scaled it myself, cleaned them, all that kind of stuff because I got them from a local fisherman. We're going with another 2 ladles of stock, by the way. Meanwhile, whilst we're talking and all that kind of stuff, I got them from a local fisherman. So I got like the whole fish. So what you can do, especially with non-oily fish like sea bass, or bream, or there are quite a few. I mean, I can't remember on top of my mind, but there are loads. Totally opposite from mackerel and tuna and whatever. So these are usually the white fish. So what you can do with the bones, so let's say you have all the fish bones and the head, you can make a stock. So basically make a fish stock, but that's, yeah, if you like it. Not many people like it, although, you know, you can make it like pretty light because with the fish stock, you don't need much cooking. It's probably like half an hour cooking, I would say, with the fish stock. You don't want to kind of like boil those fish bones in there till it gets kind of weird and the flavor changes entirely. So you probably want to cook that a lot less than you would with let's say with chicken, because you only want a live fish flavor. I could have done that. I could have put, let's say, vegetables in there. Although like fish stock is usually just white vegetables. It's not like a rule. It's probably, yeah, who follows the rules anyway in most at least I don't. So you could have used carrot, you could have used something else, even red onion if you want to, but you could add the fish bones as well. So by adding the fish bone, you're gonna get like a nice fish flavor, and which is gonna be kind of light because you don't want to cook it to death. So that's something that you could have done and I could have done, but today we're going with vegetable stock, keep it kind of vegetable till towards the end when we're adding the fish. Okay, more. When it gets dry, when you notice that it gets kind of dry, more stock. It's no point tasting it at this point. I know 100% that's not ready. That's probably going to take another 10 minutes, I would say. But at some point, it's okay. Like it's actually good to get a few risotto grains and just kind of see whether they are cooked al dente or not. And knowing when they are cooked al dente is basically when they get to the point that most of the outside layer, and I'm talking till to that you only have like a tiny bit of grain that's uncooked. So that's giving you a bit of a bite. So that's when you know that it's cooked al dente. Now restaurants, what they usually do in a restaurant, because I can tell you because I work in a restaurant, I work in the kitchen. So what they usually do, they cook it even less than al dente because you're going to make a base. So let's say you're ordering a risotto. Like I would say 80% of the time, the base will be ready. So when you're going into a restaurant, you're walking in a restaurant, I want a mushroom risotto, for example, the base will be ready. Like that's probably 80% of the time, the base of the risotto, which I'm talking just what we've done so far. What we've done so far, it can be with vegetables, it can be with chicken, I don't know. That's depending on what the restaurant chooses. And yeah, it's true. Some restaurants, they will go for chicken stock and they will say that it's vegetarian, but yeah, it is what it is. So you can get it to this point and you don't want to cook it till to the point that it's al dente and just kind of leave it into a tray to cool down. And when you have, let's say, an order, like when it happens, let's say I'm ordering the mushroom risotto, the chef will get it out of the fridge and the cooking time will be a lot less because the base is almost there. So all he has to do is just bring it up to the simmer, give it the flavor that you want because it's just a base, give it the flavor that you want and just turn it into whatever the risotto you like. Okay, how are we? If you guys have any questions, get them into the chat. I'm actually more than happy to answer. We're making here the risotto, which is probably taking another 5 minutes or so, even more than that, because we are not really kind of low heat. It's just like simmering slowly. We don't want to go crazy. It's not that we have all the time in the world, but risotto is something that you need to kind of slowly cook it. Maybe a bit more heat is actually needed because I feel like in some situation, I'm still getting kind of used to this induction because I just got it. So the other one is out. So yeah, they're all different and they all have like different kind of like cooking temperatures. And when he says the temperature, is actually not, because these are not like the highly professional ones. Just by like 100 quid, what do you really expect? It will last enough. Hopefully, it will last enough to cook this dish. That'll be helpful. So, as mentioned, guys, if you have any questions, we are making risotto, butternut squash risotto with sea bass. But again, comes without saying, you don't have to use necessarily sea bass. I'm kind of lucky that I live on an island where there is plenty of fish around us, at least for now. So we can get it straight from the fisherman, and then we can kind of take advantage of this. It is actually really good. I mean, I wouldn't probably have the same thing, especially I'm from like northern Romania, so the sea is like far away. Like I'm talking like really far away. I mean, especially if you want to get something like if you want to get something that comes from the sea, it's far away. And plus, in our region, to be honest, we don't eat that much fish, unfortunately. But I guess it comes a lot with people eat whatever they've got, whatever they grow and whatever they got in their area, which is kind of good in the same time. Because if, let's say, the fish is like, let's say, 1,000 miles away, that fish, by the time it gets to you, it's not going to be in the greatest conditions. And you better eat pork, better eat rabbits, whatever you got around you. And it's something that the restaurants actually try to do. If, let's say, you are in Jersey, you'll have most of the restaurants having seafood in their menus. If, let's say, you are in Switzerland, let's say in the mountains, I'm not saying that you cannot have lobsters, but probably you would expect something a bit more like, I don't know, venison, pigeon, whatever, you know, something a bit more like mountains related. I think that's something a bit more suitable for these kind of locations. And that's why if, let's say, you come into Jersey, you'll see a lot of restaurants having seafood in their menus. And that's mostly because, first of all, we have plenty of it, at least for now. I'm not saying that it's cheap, but being an island, I think, you know, having people coming from abroad, they want to taste, they want to see the local food. And at least that's how I am. If I'm going somewhere, let's say if I'm going into, I don't even know. Let's say I'm going to Hungary. Let's say I'm going to Hungary, probably I want to try goulash, right? I'm not going to go there to eat lobsters. Not that you cannot do it, but I think it's kind of nice, and I think it kind of like teaches us, you know, a lot. Food, I think, teaches us a lot when it comes to visiting a country. Yeah, it says a lot. The food says a lot about like people in general, I would say. Okay, so we keep going here. More stock needed. I'm pretty sure it's not ready. I can see that it's not ready. To be honest, like at the beginning, we were kind of on a low heat, probably lower than we should have. But now we added a bit of heat, so we are kind of on the medium heat, and yeah, we're doing a lot better. So when it's getting to the point, let's actually see. Okay, I'm gonna add some salt because I want to have some salt in there whilst it's cooking. I think that's important, adding salt. I'm not saying right at the beginning. Obviously, it's good at the beginning, but if, let's say, you're adding like I'm doing, that's still better than adding it just at the end. It's the same like you would cook pasta, right? You cook pasta in salty water. That's because you want that pasta to absorb some of that salt from the water. So it's exactly the same with this. You want the risotto to absorb some of that salt right from the beginning. Otherwise, it's just going to be on the outside layer. And I'm not saying that you cannot kind of like, not fake it, balance it, but it's still better if you do it the other way around. Now, pepper. I know like some people and some restaurants, they actually go with white pepper because risotto is considered a white stew. In my opinion, I don't care. So I'm just going to go with a bit of freshly grounded black pepper. I actually like freshly grounded black pepper. White pepper, it feels kind of weird to me. Not that I never use it or I never use it, but you know what? Freshly grounded black pepper has such a nice aroma. That's probably going to make me sneeze, but that's fine. Oh. Oh, here we go. We've got people already auto-inviting for dinner. My brother-in-law. There we go. Okay. So, pepper, enough. I don't want to go crazy with the pepper. It's just kind of like to feel it there, but not going mental. So let's just see how it tastes now. A bit more salt. It probably looks like I'm adding a lot, but it's not, because this pepper mill, as soon as it gets kind of like wet and it gets humid, the pepper mill kind of gets clogged up, and then it's not much coming out. Plus, this is sea salt. It's kind of like milder than the actual table salt. So I would say that probably altogether I've not added more than 1 teaspoon. That's probably even a lot, and probably not even a teaspoon. But then when it comes to salt, pepper, it's all up to you, how much you're adding, how much you like. So it's not something that I can really give you an advice. You can probably say, let's say 1/2 teaspoon of table salt. That's probably going to be enough. But then what if you like it salty? Plus, to be honest, the squash is kind of sweet. So you need to kind of balance it. So you might want to add a bit more salt than usual. And that all comes to your taste. Oh, we've got Alex here in the house. Hello. Yeah. Yeah. I know. Yeah, by the way, you're not eating fish. Like, what's the point coming for dinner? You don't really eat fish. I kind of got you now. So my brother-in-law said that he's willing to come for dinner because they just got back in Jersey from Romania. But I kind of got him. I mean, no, it wasn't me. It was actually my wife that said, you know, but he doesn't eat fish. And that's probably a story that, I mean, kind of understandable because he worked for a fish and chips place here in Jersey. So he worked with so much fish that probably he doesn't want to see it for the rest of his life. Probably if I was in his situation, I would have done the same. I work with a lot of fish, yeah. I definitely work with a lot, like lobsters. Yeah, lobsters, crab, fish in general from here, like local. Because no matter where you probably work here in Jersey, only if, let's say, you work in a vegetarian restaurant, which, to be honest, I don't think that many, you're not going to find fish. Fish is very popular here on the island, and I think it's part of the Jersey kind of like culture. And I think it makes sense to be because, obviously, first of all, it's an island, and second of all, you've got some really good chefs here on the island that know how to cook fish. So it makes total sense. Okay, this is just fine the way it is. Now, I know probably we took a lot longer than we should have. It's just, yeah, we took longer. I'm pretty sure we took longer. But first, at the beginning, I kind of left you on much lower heat than I should have. But this is kind of where I need it to be. It's not al dente, but we still have time because I'm going to be adding the... I'm just going to add a touch more. I'm going to be adding the puree. And then I'm going to cook it with the puree for a bit more. So I'm going to take this on the side. As I mentioned earlier, this is going to continue cooking. So after that, we can get, well, meanwhile, we can get on with the fish. So move this on the side. Right, let's get the fish. Now, non-stick pan works best. If you want to have like a nice crispy skin, it doesn't kind of like catches the bottom of the pan, but you can definitely get away with other pans and other materials if you know how to control the heat. Now, I'll be honest, I actually not cooked sea bass. I can't even remember when was the last time. Probably the last time that I done some recipe on the channel. So I'm kind of losing, in a way, the skill of cooking fish, because it is, in a way, it is a skill. Not just knowing when to stop when it's actually cooked, but it's about, actually, let's see if we have to trim anything. Nah, I think it looks good. So I'm just gonna portion it in two, and then just score it. Let me show you what I'm actually doing here. So with the scoring is basically hold the fish like this and just go with the knife gently. If you have a sharp knife, you're gonna have no issues doing this. And just try to keep the same distance so it kind of look nice, but that's not that important. And what this does, when you're doing this, it's ensuring that the skin gets kind of crispier, and plus on top of that, it cooks the fish better because obviously through these gaps, we're gonna get a lot more heat than having the skin intact. Okay, same with the other one. You can cook it without scoring it. It's not like this is absolutely essential, but I like the way it looks after that. Plus, I think that the skin gets crispier. And by the way, you don't necessarily need a filleting knife. That's the one I use to fillet the fish, and it's like really sharp because I just sharpening it. But you can use a chef knife. A chef knife will probably do it in the kitchen with like 80% of the jobs, so it's nothing to worry about. I mean, to be honest, this is a nice portion. I'm talking like quite a big portion of sea bass, but it's just the way we got them. And plus, I absolutely love local fish, especially because it's fresh. If you get it fresh, well, in most situations, getting it from the fisherman will be fresh, and it's just great. So now, seasoning. Just gonna put them all like this. Seasoning, all I'm doing, a touch of salt and a touch of pepper, and I also want later on some herbs. There's something coming later. You can go with thyme in between thyme, like thyme leaves. I'm not gonna go that. It's fine. We're gonna add thyme later on, and that's gonna do the job. Some people add the salt and pepper later. Some people add it at the beginning. I mean, to be honest, I don't think it makes that huge of a difference. Salt, pepper on both sides. Don't go crazy with the pepper. It's just more of a like, it's here, but we don't forget about it. Oh. So, yeah. You can see with what I'm dealing with. I just put it on the screen. Actually, if this live stream is going to take another hour, probably I'm going to drink all the wine. But considering that we are not that far from the end, you might get lucky, and there is still more than half bottle there. So now I'm going to get this off the heat. If we need more, that's fine. We're going to use it. We can take it from there. Now it's hot enough. Let's get it off the heat. Right. So pan, hot. Actually, yeah, that's fine. Just going to do it like this. Okay, let's get that up to speed. And after that, so it needs to be hot enough. I'm going to be adding a bit of oil on the fish, not on the pan. It doesn't really matter, to be honest, that much. But the fish itself will release some oil. So I don't want to go crazy, because if I go in a pan, maybe it doesn't get in the place where I want it to get. So basically under the fish, like this, I know it's on the fish. When I put it in the pan, perfect. Well, it should be. We'll find out. Okay, so wine out the way. Right, let's test. Is it sizzling? It is. Now, with the fish, especially with the bigger fillets, I mean, to be honest, all the fillets, they tend to kind of curve. So what you need to do in some situations is just kind of like press them down ever so slightly, so they keep the flat shape underneath, so they cook evenly. Because what you can end up with is that they curve and they cook only on the sides, and it kind of looks weird and it doesn't cook evenly, and you don't get that nice crispy skin. So it's not something that we want, till at least it kind of settles. Because like if you push it down for, let's say, 10-15 seconds, it will flatten, and that's it. It will stay in that position for quite a long time. Well, till the end. Okay, so that's going there. Let's get the risotto back. Now, puree. Let's do it. Where is my... So, the puree goes in. And then if we need to add more veg stock, we will add more veg stock. That's fine. This is the time when you kind of like need to, it's the time to adjust everything. So when you get now towards the end, we need to adjust everything. We're gonna add a bit of butter as well at this point. You're just gonna kind of like get the butter into the, gradually absorb into the risotto. So I'm cutting it into like smaller pieces, add 1 or 2 at a time, mix it in, add more, or just reduce the heat. Oh, I'm going crazy here. Yeah, we are talking about wine, about fish. We are talking about everything, to be honest, because they kind of work well together. Yeah, Alex was asking me what we're talking about. Are we talking about wine? Are we talking? I mean, to be honest, sometimes it kind of gets complicated knowing like what we're talking about. We're talking about all sorts of things. So risotto slowly cooking here because it's still, as I mentioned earlier, it wasn't al dente when I took it off the heat. So it's getting that nice color, as you can see from the squash. This is cooking nicely. So when you know that the fish is cooked, so simple rule. I mean, obviously you can kind of flip it a bit and just have a look. But then when you see that it becomes white, so it's kind of set on, around it, that's when you kind of know it's cooked. Obviously, if you want to get it like crispy, you might leave it a bit longer. But that's kind of there when you see that. Okay, a bit more veg stock here. I'm actually gonna add one more. That will probably keep it till, it will give us enough till the end. Now, okay, I'm just gonna get rid of this and just replace it with another one fresh. To be honest, this tray is probably far too big for the induction I've got, so we might end up with some edges on the outside not being cooked the way we want it, but that's fine. We're just gonna kind of move them around, and they should do the job. Now at this point, I'm gonna add some till the fish is cooking, and I think it's cooking well. We're gonna get some Parmesan into the risotto. About, I don't know, it all depends how much you like Parmesan. I would say probably about 50 grams to 100. If you want to make it very cheesy, go crazy with even more. But 50 to 100 is definitely something that's fine. You don't want to overpower it, and you don't want to kind of like fill the Parmesan more than you fill the squash. Because that's going to make it a Parmesan risotto, so it all needs to be balanced. So 50 grams should do the job in this situation. So we fill some of that cheese, but we don't go all the way that we have like a Parmesan risotto. Okay, let's see how the fish is. Let me get the... Yeah, as I said, they're not cooking evenly because the induction I'm using is probably too small for the, it's definitely too small for the pan, but that's fine. We're going to continue cooking. I just kind of turn them around. So I put the side that were not that cooked from the side. I just added them to the this is my colleague team. Yeah, I done a good job teaching them like Romanian words. Oh, there's not enough Parmesan. That's what Declan said. Well, to be honest, as I said, you know, it all depends how much you like Parmesan. I'm just gonna add two more cubes of butter in there, so they're slowly absorbing into the risotto. And now, what we're gonna do here, right? Let's get ready some herbs, and let's get ready a wedge of lime as well, because or lemon or whatever. You can use lemon, you can use lime. It needs a bit of acid because it's just gonna balance perfectly the fish flavor. So now 2 cloves of garlic, few sprigs of thyme, and I'm also adding a bit of sage. Not that it works that well with the fish, to be honest. Although it works, it all depends how much you like sage, like anything else. But it works well with the risotto. So it's gonna kind of like, I'm gonna use some of that butter, because I'm adding butter in a minute as well, to finish the dish. So that's gonna work just perfect, giving a bit of like sage flavor. Now, when you're flipping the fish, you're adding the butter, which I probably need a bit more, to be honest with you. You're adding the butter, and then you take it off the heat. Let me increase the heat just for a bit, just for like another 30 seconds to give it like nicer color to the skin, because I want it to be slightly crispy. Not crispy like crazy, but at least to have a better flavor. Yeah, that's an option. Yeah, I'm gonna do some more Romanian dishes. They're just kind of like different comparing to what we usually do on the channel. But now let's get back to what we got here. So the risotto, I think, is ready. Let's give it a taste. If it needs a bit of seasoning, that's fine. We can add a bit more. Probably a touch of salt, to be honest with you. Okay, salt in there. Now, fish. Bang. Boom. Magic. Look at this. Beautiful. Absolutely amazing. Now, turn off the heat. Butter. Crush the garlic. In sage. We're getting in there the thyme as well. One more leaf of sage, why not? And we're also going with lemon. Probably need a bit more lemon because this is not very juicy. So what we're gonna have here, and a bit more butter, because this is gonna be our sauce as well in the end. This is gonna be the one we're gonna finish the dish with. So it's gonna be working perfectly on top of the risotto. Risotto is done. Off. As I said, if you need more seasoning, now at this point is something that you could add is chives, or you can go even with some sage if you want to. But I've got sage in here. I've got sage in the butter, so that's enough. Actually, I'm gonna turn back the heat on because this seems like it's going cold straight away. I don't want that. I want to cook that butter a bit. Although the fish, you know, it looked kind of ready, it wasn't entirely cooked and it's kind of thick. So I want to make sure that it's cooked. So I'm just going to give you another minute or two on low heat. So this way the butter will cook, because butter actually gets better when you cook it slightly. It gets like nuttier, it gets that aroma, it gets a bit brown. So when you're basically doing brown butter, that's what it is. And then with all the flavors that we've got here, with all the leaves, all the like the garlic, a bit of the lemon, it's just gonna work perfectly with what we need here. So let's give you a bit more time to develop all that flavor. Plus some of that flavor will also get into the fish. This is how it is. A bit more wine, of course. And okay, so I'm gonna leave this actually cooking just for now till I'm getting a plate ready. We're slowly starting plating, but we leave the butter to cook a bit more and the fish, because the bottom side probably needs just a touch more. You don't want to go too much, because pretty much, like I would say 70% of the cooking is done, especially when the fish is not that thick, because if it's like really thick, let's say a cod, you will get it into the oven for like 5-10 minutes, whatever. But with the sea bass, this is kind of thick comparing to like the farm sea bass, for example. But with this, I needed, you know, another few minutes just because it's on the thicker side. So I want to make sure that it's cooked properly, but not overcooked. So I'm stopping the heat right now. Let's put everything together into the plate and let's see what we end up with. Okay. So, risotto. If you want, you can also add cream. You could. I'm not saying that you cannot. But to be honest, the squash itself, the puree, I think is giving enough flavor. Plus, it's kind of washing up some of that squash flavor. So you can skip it, definitely. I've got some cream in there. I'm just going to keep it like this. If you want cream, you can definitely add some cream, get it back on the heat, bring it to the simmer, and that's done. You don't need to cook it any further. So risotto, if you want it like, I like the risotto like this. I mean, probably if I add a touch more stock, just like a half ladle. But if you want it like kind of thin, you can obviously adjust the consistency the way you like it. In my opinion, it's fine the way it is. Now, let's put it into the plate and let's see what we've got here. Right. Okay, spoon. And this butter is the gold. So all this butter, it's got thyme flavor, it's got garlic flavor, it's got fish flavor, it's got butter flavor on its own, because the butter is cooked and it gets to the point that's getting nice and nutty. So, and it's got some of that lemon, which is really nice. It's gonna work perfectly with the sweet squash. And my friends, if you want to add some more like greens and all that kind of stuff, you can definitely do so. But there you have it. Easy risotto, nothing complicated. Wintry, is going to keep you filled up for till tomorrow, that's for sure. And yeah, just cook it. And I'll see you in the next video on my channel every Friday. And we're going to try to do a lot more like live streaming, because I absolutely love it. Although in most situations I'm not prepared, because it's just the way it is. Some audio issues, some video issues, and it's all the time something. But in the end, we make it, and we are here, we are together. And I will see you next time. Make sure you give this a like on the way out. And if you have any questions, even after the stream, just drop them into the comments. And if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you go there, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one.